The core objective of e-learning is using technology to individualize learning, improve understanding, and capture student learning data to get timely feedback. Let me show you how Bantium Schools is used to achieve these core objectives. Bantium Schools is customized with the logo and name of each school. Each student is able to log in with a unique username and password to their personalized area, where they have access to lessons, assessments, assignments, approved apps, and safe browser. Students can view their lesson notes or presentations by simply clicking the Lesson tab. In the lesson area, students can select and download the particular lesson of interest. They can further view attached resources like videos or images. They can listen to audio or read any other materials provided by the teacher at their own pace. Another important part of Bantium Schools is tablet management, which puts the teacher and the school in control of the use of the Bantium educational tablet PC when students are in school. Tablet management includes view and lock screen, which allows the teacher to select a student and remotely block his or her screen in the class to get their attention. The view screen function enables the teacher to remotely view student screens to see what students are doing on their tablets in real time. This function is particularly useful for teachers in monitoring student activities without walking from desk to desk.
Okay, that's a short video. Fundamentally, this is just for you to see it in action, so we're not just talking about. There are some key things I talked about. I talked about the fact that it does not depend on the internet. Some people ask, how does that work? The way it works is that, as I said, we provide, part of what we provide for the school when we're starting is that we provide infrastructure. And by infrastructure, what I mean is that we're actually going to drop a server in the school. If the school already has a Wi-Fi network or a cloud, we use it. If they don't, we create that for the school at no cost to the school. Now, what we've done that for is that students can connect their devices wirelessly to that server that's inside the school. They're not connecting to one server somewhere that is going to be down one time or whatever the case is. And that's how we make this to be able to work offline. Now, teachers can create content, because the way we've done it is that we actually have about resources, over 5,000 teaching resources that also comes with this. But in addition to that, we teach teachers to be able to create content and put their content in the server, which also, and the content they are putting in has a bearing with the curriculum of the school, because every school runs different curriculum and the way the school teaches is different. So apart from what we give you to support what you're doing, we teach the teachers to use their own content, the content that they create every day to teach. We make that available to the students. Students can download it. It might be a video, it might be in the class notes. In a secondary school, you might decide and say all their notes that they're doing, the teacher will just do it this way that I've talked about. Send it to students. So in class, you find out that right now, particularly in secondary school, 50% of class time is used copying notes, particularly in secondary school. Primary school, you can still even need them to do that because they need to do that because of their handwriting. But you want to use 50% of class time copying notes. Now, you could have done that, send it to all the students as digital copy. So when they come to class, you are doing more of teaching than copying notes. So these are many more. There's so many things that I'm sure, because there's no time to do this. Now, what I'm going to do, just to round up, is that we have this in two models. There's a shared model, then there's a one-to-one model. The shared model is a model where there are some schools what they say is that all our parents cannot afford to buy tablets. So what do we do? So part of what we are going to bring as part of the infrastructure are also tablet pieces, which they are not paying for. So what happens is that we give you a tablet pieces enough for a full classroom. If your classroom has 25 students, we give you about 26, one for the teacher, one for each student. Now you can move that tablet piece and everything. So that means it's only one class that can use it at a time with that shared model. So you can move it from class to class at different periods. So that way they don't take it home, they use it in school, and all they just have to pay is just one amount, and they have access to all this. Now, what's this amount? Now, this is that shared model. We're doing a promo here. Now, that shared model, for the first term, all they have to pay is 7,000 naira per child. Subsequent terms, it will be 5,000. So now, by paying that, they have access to everything, plus training, plus tablets that they have access, everything that I've talked about, they have access to it by just paying 7,000 naira per term. Now, for some schools, they say, well, we would like to do one-to-one. One-to-one means every student will have a device. Even though the only thing the students then pay for in this case is that they buy their devices. Every other thing is still bundled inside services. Meaning that you still put the server there, train the teachers, do all those other things, but every student have their own device. In many cases, we even wire the whole school wirelessly to be able to do what they need to do. So in those circumstances, we now have 3 packages for the one-to-one. We have the basic, we have the standard, we have the premium. Another thing we are doing in this event is that between today and tomorrow, because the prices for one-to-one ranges per child from 10,000 to about 25,000. But what we're doing per child, is that we have like an intent form which shows that you are willing to do this maybe in September or whatever, which part of my colleagues are going to pass around that you can feel and give us. Yes, I'm almost done. I'm done. Let me just finish. So after that, so once we give you this thing and you feel you are going to get 50% discount on that.
And change management in the competitive sector. Can we have more house, please? Okay, quickly, let me just take Mrs. Osime's profile. Bolaji Osime, an educationist and lawyer, is the CEO of Global International College, Lagos and Abuja, an educational institution driven to help young people find the right path to academic success, which is built on a solid foundation of godly character and to become the kind of leaders that Nigeria needs in the future. Having transitioned through diverse stages of finding one's calling, Bolaji understands the individual and organizational essence of discovering and pursuing vision through diverse life cycles. Please, can we put our hands together for Mrs. Bolaji Osime as she takes us on this segment? Thank you.
I would love to take questions. Michael is here. I'm going to introduce Michael Baven. Michael Baven is an education consultant from Canada. And my phone is ringing. So it's going to take some of the, it's going to talk a little bit about what I'm talking about today, the practical way. So I don't know how many teachers we have here. How many teachers are here? We need to change our classrooms. We have a training as well that we're going to distribute. How many school owners are here? Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So everybody else is in education somewhat anyway. So you're all welcome. So I'm just going to speak through the PowerPoint quickly and then go through it. And the purpose of education should be to nurture and create, and that's the former Minister of Education who is going to bring the girls back right now. And she says to create a good society and compete globally. So we must know in Nigeria, because when we look at what's happening in the education sector, when we look at our classrooms, when we look at the unemployment, when we see the situation we have in Nigeria, we have a big crisis in Nigeria. If any education system is supposed to change, they have to be the Nigeria education system. Because you have to ask yourself, how come they're having so many people unemployed? And the question you should ask also is that, what is the purpose of education? Every school must have a vision why they're educating the children. What is the reason why we are? So can somebody tell me or give me an idea of why are we educating Nigerian children? Because somebody can just tell me, shout it out. What's the purpose of your school? Why are you educating? Is it a business? Is it to make money? What's the reason? Somebody please just help me. Future leaders, fantastic. Is that somebody else was going to say something? Yeah.
Set to train the character of the Nigerian future leaders.
Yeah, fantastic. So these are some of the points. But by the time we go through now, we'll sort of know the reason why we're educating the Nigerian child. That's number one. The reason why we need to change some of the things we're doing, particularly owners. Global has gone through a process of change in the last 16 years. We are not where we were when we started. We are in the 21st century and we need to move with the times. The reason why we educate and we must provide quality education is to transform Nigeria to be one of the most competitive economies in the world. Is Nigeria a competitive economy right now? I don't think so. So the reason why we are all here, educators and teachers, everybody here is doing the best job ever, is to ensure that our students can be competitive. It's a flat world. Everybody's talking about the internet, they're talking about digital, there's so many digital equipment out there. That means we're looking at technology very big. That's big now. Next week. So some of the things we're going to talk about is, are you ready for change? You have to ask yourself as a school, how is the world changing around us? What is change management? What is the motivation to change? Then leadership, systemic change. What is the changing roles of the students we're teaching? I'm sure Michael will say a few things about that. The kind of teachers, what is your role now in the 21st century? Teaching and learning, changing expectations of employers. What are the employers looking for? Do we even know when we teach the students the jobs that they're going to? Do we know the gaps? Do we know the skills that they need? These are the things that why we need to change in Nigeria. Next. So the question is, are you ready? Are you ready to change by making education into the 21st century? That's what I want to talk to you about today. That we need to change from the 19th century into the 21st century. In some areas of Nigeria, we are still in the 17th century. Lagos is really, really way ahead. But I've had the opportunity to work in the Federal Ministry of Education a few years back with the former minister, and we did a lot of survey, and we know that Lagos is way ahead. So we need to help all the other parts of Nigeria to get to where we are. I cannot even boldly say that Lagos is actually in the 21st century. We are getting there. It is today we must create the world of the future. You need to create the future. Technology allows you to create the future. Who in maybe 10, 20 years time, they're going to be adults. How do you create the future? How do you teach them to be in the workplace? So you have to create the future. That's what that coach talks about. We need to prepare students for their future and not our past. Some of us are teaching the way we were taught. I look at some of my teachers, I say, you see the way they taught you. You know, some of us went to school or college of education and they taught you so, and that's the way. No way. These are digital young men and women. These are young men and women that stay on Twitter 24/7. They're on Facebook all the time. So you know that we are talking about this technology, this 21st century children that we're teaching. How is the world changing? Automation. Technology has changed the whole world. Totally. Everything is automated. Globalization. It's a global world. Workplace has changed tremendously. If you do not know how to use a computer as a graduate coming out of Nigerian universities, nobody will employ you. There are a lot of graduates who are leaving who cannot operate the computer. A lot of newcomers, and some of them cannot even they can't use Excel. In fact, I was just talking to Michael coming in that we need to do a post-graduation training for our graduates to ensure that they are versatile in the Excel, in PowerPoint. You have to be able to do a PowerPoint presentation in your classroom, teachers. You have to, because when you teach, a student cannot get more than what the teacher can give him. So you have to be conversant for what you need in the workplace as well. There's a lot of demographic change, particularly in the north. In the north, you find sometimes the man marries about 4 wives. I have a school in Abuja. I have a parent who had 18 children. So we are getting more and more. In fact, there are some statistics that say that in a few years, I can't remember, we're going to be 220, and by 2040, we're going to be about 300. So demographic changes. What are we doing about these changes? You know? Personal risk and responsibility, you have to be responsible for your development. Every teacher, I say to my teacher all the time, you have to be personally responsible. The internet is there, there's so much information on the internet. Go get it. Don't teach the traditional way that the College of Education taught you anymore. Otherwise, you're not going to get the students. The rote learning of cramming stuff and giving it to change the way we teach. School owners, we need to change a lot of things that we're doing. Next. Just a few pictures to show. I wanted to ask this question, but I don't think I will ask it because the setting I thought we will have is different. But I was just going to ask whether you've done a change in the last 5 years so to make it interactive. But let me quickly go on so I will make it interactive later on. Next. So this is what change management is in a nutshell. So I won't bore you. When we talk about change management, which is the topic I'm taking today, it is that you're going to analyze the strength of your school. Every year at this time, I have a retreat in my school. I call all my teachers together, I call the house parents together, I call the heads of the school together. We now analyze our strength. How well did we do in the last 1 year? We are now analyze the weaknesses. We do a survey for parents. We want to know exactly the pulse of the parent, and then guess what? The biggest customer you have is the child in your school. It's the child, that's your customer. I tell teachers, the way you talk to some of the students, you do not understand that you're talking to your customer. You have to be careful how you relate to the students. So it's about analyzing your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities, and more importantly, the threats. Threats to your school. Right now, Nigerians are spending $8 million in schools abroad. The biggest threat we have right now, Nigerian schools, is the schools that are coming in to take our children. Somebody might, one of my staff just texted me. She just said that, okay, a parent came here and was telling me about his daughter that was in Ghana that had a drug problem and spent millions and millions solving the drug problem. They had Thanksgiving in church last Sunday. So, we must think clearly. We have our culture here. We have our morals here. But if we do not give quality education, Nigerians are voting with their feet. And when we voted Jonathan out, they are voting Nigerian schools out. And they are going to Lady Cheltenham. And they are taking our money out. So that's why competition is not just internally. We need to look at what's happening. That's why it's the people. I can go on the internet and get the best schools in America. I can go on the internet and get the best schools in the UK. As a parent, I have the right to spend my money where it is best spent. So it is about looking at these things and then looking at, with emphasis on, are we executing your vision? Every school should ask themselves a question. When I started, that's why I started with vision. When you started, I know why I'm educating global students. I believe I'm a change agent, I'm a transformation agent. I like to change things. So by virtue of the topic, I am a change agent, and therefore I want to educate leaders. I want to educate Nigerian kids who become leaders. And that means I am educating the whole child. I'm not just looking at the academic, I'm looking at the morals, I'm looking at the whole body, the spiritual, everything. So that when they come back and they come and lead Nigeria, we will not have the problems we are having right now in National Assembly. We will not have those kind of problems. You have to know why you are educating the children. So that is what changes, and these are the dimensions of change. A lot of things, structures have to change, the way of learning has to change, materials and resources. We were just talking out there that very soon books are going to be obsolete. Your children have to, when I do a curriculum called Ontario Curriculum in Global, and it's about the Canadian curriculum, and it's distance learning. And Nigerian kids had a challenge, serious challenge doing it. They prefer to do the face-to-face, looking at the teacher. It was a huge challenge for them. But these days, it is more of facilitating learning, not the traditional teaching. I'll quickly go on with that and talk about it. New behaviors and practices, new values, beliefs, and attitudes and understanding. So we're talking about change, just to recap. And we're saying that the world that we're preparing the children in our school for is changing rapidly. It's more of a technology-driven world. The workplace, because at the end of the day, the reason why I want my child to go to school and I'm paying millions of naira is that she will get a good job. It's about exams, it's about passing exams, but beyond the passing exams, this is what you have. A lot of people have certificates that when they take it to the employers in Nigeria, they cannot employ them. We have about, they say 17%, I don't know what unemployed, but I'll show you some figures. Just to drive it home to us that we have a big problem here. I'll show you some figures later. So the most challenging aspect of your business is to lead school owners, is to lead and manage change. Everybody, change is the only thing that a lot of people resist. And that's the only thing that is happening, because everything else has to change. You know, the business environment is so fast-paced, economically and social change. Look at the drinking oil resources. When we had the Ebola crisis last year, and we had a problem in our hands, we had to really think that what would we do? We could not sit at home. If we sit at home, a lot of schools found that they sat at home for 1 month. They could not pay salaries. We had to go and use the web layer. We have to quickly rethink our processes, and we started teaching our students through the website, through the webinars, and they were at home. So you have to think on your toes. You cannot use traditional ways to engage the present learners that we have, because we have many tools. We have many tools we can use. Change is about survival. If you want to survive, there's so much competition, there's so many schools in Lagos. There's so many people fighting for the same number of schools. But in order for a parent to be impressed, they must come to your school and see that you're doing something different. If you are doing the same thing that A is doing and B is doing, why must I bring my children to your school? Why must I? There must be something unique about what you're offering, and that's why you need to keep and pace with what is happening. Schools must adapt and be flexible to survive in the midst of acute. A lot of schools are closing down. And the reason why they're closing down is not that the service is not needed. Everybody has to go to school. But the thing is that the other school is doing so much better and is providing better to students. When a child goes home and the child at the age of 5 opens up the iPad and is able to talk about what he learned in school and goes through maybe one like economics, or whatever subject they're teaching them, maybe science is at that age, and it's telling you and describing what they taught him using the interactive board. And then another one comes home and you're asking questions you cannot answer, because all the teacher was saying, the gentleman that was talking earlier, was talking about notes, teachers taking notes. That is the 17th century. A lot of teachers were taught in the College of Education to teach that way. That cannot help, because you spend the whole time taking notes, and instead of using that time to get the students to understand and to own their own learning, you understand? Problems in living change is human resource. Leaders need to be aware of how change impacts their staff. Next, please. So I'm asking what type of leader you are. Basically, these are these questions. You know, there are 4 different types of leaders. So for school owners who are here, there's the anxious analyzer, analyzing everything, analyzing, see, there's no never, what are we going to do? That school is doing this, copying other schools. Anxious analyzer. You wait on the competition. I have somebody, I know some schools that they wait for what to do. I know that for sure, because I'm a change agent. Some schools wait for what I do before they change. That is somebody who is not actually creative. You have to be creative about what you're doing. Don't wait for your competition and then copy what the competition is doing. Then we have the enthusiastic prospector. He knows that there's a need for change. Sometimes he does this, sometimes he doesn't do it. Some of us might be like that. Next, please. And then we have the domain defender. That is the person that knows that there's very little uncertainty in Nigeria. He makes minor adjustments in organizational structure and processes. He's defending the domain. He's not interested in what is happening outside. And of course, that person very soon will be extinct. There's a lot of companies in the US. For example, there's a company called Blockbusters. I used to rent videos when I go to the US. And all of a sudden I went there that day, Blockbusters was closed. What happened? And I like watching videos. Guess what? Now, where I live, all I have to do is to go to this, like a machine, an ATM machine, and get the video out. So Blockbusters closed because it did not move with the change of time. There are a lot of companies like Nextcloud in the US that they can send you, even on Amazon, you can get videos. There are a lot of companies who are still shocked now. And Amazon, how many people know about Amazon? Amazon has wiped out a whole load of people. So that's what change is. Because of technology, Amazon is able to deliver within 1 or 2 days to you. Meanwhile, another bookstore, you have to go there and go and buy it. A lot of people are doing shopping online. That is what change is about. And then you have a reluctant reactor. I don't want to change. I'm so reluctant. It's going to cost money. It's going to be this. Or whatever. I'm not interested. When you have phones, your phone is the knowledge you can get even from phones. So when public school teachers tell me, we don't have phone. No, you have a phone. You can use your phone to download What is the 21st century demand for our graduates? The current educational system in Nigeria is failing to equip Nigerian children with the right knowledge and skills to operate in the knowledge economy. What we have now is a knowledge economy, right? We are far behind in the global race. What do we need to change? What do we need to cut out in our schools? What do we need to keep? We have to have brainstorming sessions. When you finish school like this, there's a seminar that we are doing that Michael is doing in a couple of weeks. We'll distribute it. So that if you're interested, that is what, this is coming from a developed world, and this is the way Canada has stayed at the top of the educational system. The way they are training their children, and their children are extremely smart, and they're doing very well. The more we train our children to be really creative and have the skills from the 21st century, the more money that they can earn. In fact, our students are not even getting employment, let alone earning salary, and that's a big problem. The greatest tragedy is not the waste of our natural resources. The greatest tragedy is the waste of our human resources. That's what that quote says. We cannot sit back as educators and say, because I have a school, I'm just doing it one way. And the whole of Nigeria is having an issue and we're not interested. We have to be interested. We have to go back and look at what we're doing, and we have to make sure that we do it right. Next. So just a few statistics for you. About 4.5 million entered into the labor market. Out of 4.5 million, only 10% will be absorbed because they did not have the right education. Education starts from early years. It starts from age 5. It doesn't start from university. Everybody's always talking about university. If you have not built the foundation of something, which is crashing your head, we have to start from the young ones. How do we teach these young ones to learn? How do they learn? By doing things. How do they learn? By fun. But they must learn. And they have to learn in the way that they retain the learning. It is not the one that they will calm it and, you ask them a question. When my son was a white stance, he brought me and said, Osama, you cannot, look, you have to understand this. After I was speaking, he said, Mommy, I'm telling this thing. I have 14 subjects, then it was about, more than 14 subjects. I have 14 subjects, I cannot understand, I have to cram it. The teacher said I was giving it to him the way he gives it to me. So the boy did not understand it. He was just putting it in. And there are some students who are not good at cramming. Unfortunately, they failed because of our fault. When I went to England, my lecturer kept saying, Bola, answer the question, Bola, answer. I said, hello, everything in the book I've given you. That's not the way I was talking. I have written everything down. Why are you saying answer? Because I'm asking the question, and they kept failing me. One is now approaching me that look at the question, understand the question, look at what is the fact in the book, and relate it. That is after I had spent so much money. Because of the way I was taught. 53% of the ages of 25 to 44 are unemployed. The most productive age group has the highest unemployment. It is a sad situation. We are all over 50. The time I was most productive was in my 20s and 30s. Now, I remember I was 8 months pregnant and I climbed 8 flights of stairs. Now I can't even climb 1 flight without panting. That was 8 months pregnant. So, what I'm saying is that the most protective age group, our youth, our young people, they are the ones that are unemployed the most. So what are the schools doing wrong? What is the educational system doing wrong? We must ask ourselves these questions. Between 1999, GDP for Nigeria rose from $36 million to $50 million. That GDP has not translated. Every day government tells us the economy is going up. I have not seen it in my pocket, I've seen it. When everybody is unemployed, half of the whole place. Unemployment increased. They just have to increase from 5.9 million to 17.5 million. This is a result of an educational system that is broken. Because what the educational system is supposed to do is to produce graduates who have knowledge, who have skills, who can get jobs, and who can produce for their employer. I do not want to employ somebody that will just sit there and I'm doing all the work. I'm writing all the letters. Do you want to do that? So we need to start with ourselves. We need to bring the blame home. It is actually with the schooling and the educators. Next please. Learning achievements. What happened here? Okay, started. Go on. There was a map there. Okay, go back. There was a map. It's not showing. But YX students, 5 credits. You can see that is enough. Though the map is not showing, I don't know what happened to the laptop. It's showing that, but it's not showing. But all of the north 5 credits, 6.3 is the lowest. I got 5 credits. If you don't get 5 credits, you can not enter university. So this is why results. I think the best was Anambra. The best was Anambra. I can't remember what figure it is there, but most of you can see from the south area, you still have some figures that are not so bad, but they are not good either. How can 57% on Anambra was 55% that got 5 credits in WAEC results in 2014? What has led to that failure? What has led to that failure? Next please. Then we have a statistics also. Now it's also. Let's go. I'll show you. So the thing is that if we want different results, we need to change the whole system. If you want different results from your school, you need to change the system. When the incident happened in NAS, of this Saraki stroke, this and that, I said, it showed that APC said change. You can say change, but until we change ourselves, we're not going to get change. It was obvious. That was a clear example of you can talk about it. If you do not change the educational system, if you do not change the systems in your school, you will not get the change you want. Period. Do you understand? So that's what it says, that the structure of a system determines its behavior. If we are structured as system, for example, I know that there's a subject, I think it's a trait subject in WAEC, that students are still expected to use typewriters. Mr. Baker was a consultant in Caleb for years, and he was just telling me that not only did I have to work for typewriter in the day of iPads, typewriter in our curriculum. He said he had to, before they even, so many schools could not find the typewriter, and it's in our curriculum. They now find the reading was another problem. I remember when I used typewriter, I think it was in the 80s or something, wasn't it? Hello, somebody. Now we're in 2020 and we still have typewriter in our curriculum. So the system is not working. What's it called? The people who are planning our policies are not connecting to what the world needs. There's a problem. The schools themselves, even if the government does not connect, you need to connect. Because we schools do not have an excuse. We know what the world is saying. If you want to have a good school, you must change. To change the system behavior, you need to change the structure. So if the structure is not working, if you're not getting the kind of results, I know for a fact, and this is not a joke, it's not a lie, because I have had students who have told me that they do not sit for their WAEC exams. I had a student in Abuja, because when students come in, we test them, we don't take all this A-star, forget it. We tested a student who came with A-stars in WAEC, and by the time we asked him to do a test, he could not write the word of English. And he had A-stars in WAEC. By the time we now took him back, okay, fine, maybe okay, they start the exam, let us see whether he even went to, he can do GSS. He could not do GSS. We went down to primary school, he could not do primary school. For the 21 years in his life, he did not study and he did not take one serious. That is what the system is permitting. So there are a lot of people who are not studying, who are not taking exams, and because parents and teachers participate in this fraud, not knowing that finally one day it's going to catch up. The day they go to Canada, the day they go to UK, that's where they will know. There was a friend who was telling me 2 days ago, I was coming back from Abuja, he said his friend had a daughter who had a 2-1 in economics, and he was very excited that he was looking for students from a Nigerian university. So he now did a test for this child, this young girl, and that particular test, he said that the cleaners in his office passed the test. He did not pass it. So plus the university, plus the secondary school, so we need educators. We need to embrace 21st century education. If by God's grace you are doing the right, please you must do the right. It's a moral thing to do the right in your schools. We must not cheat for these children. If we make a mistake, we are killing them because when they get to the workplace, they will not be able to perform. They did not learn. These kids are very brilliant. I have a lot of brilliant young men and women that have come to my school who have got first classes in best schools, universities. I have them with medical doctors who have done so well. One came yesterday, he got the 4.0 GPA. If we allow them to use their brain, I know every school is looking at results. Let me have the best results. And therefore, let me cheat to get there. If you cheat to get there, then we are looking for trouble for our children. We do not love this kids. We have to change the system. The change starts with us. And educators, we need to start that change for real. That APC change was the right thing. Very important. Agree here that we need change? Fantastic. So we need to plan for change. So we have a compelling reason to change, right? Then you must have a vision for the future. What is it that you are training for? What is the future can be? You cannot, we are all, I'm sure a lot of us Christians, some of us are prophets. We can see into the future, right? You must see into the future. You must imagine the future. And then you can plan for the future. And then you must have a plan to get there next. So this is the change I'm talking about. So the change is from, the pictures I'm not showing, but it shows that there was a time that was agrarian, which was agriculture and farming. We went to industrial, and now we are in the knowledge economy. So this is a change. So we are no longer in the industrial mass education place, but we are now in the knowledge economy. Next, please. Unfortunately, it's not showing. But what I will talk through is, if you go back, student-centered. Student-centered learning. Now what it means is that the teaching must be centered on the students. It must not be centered on the teacher anymore, because the traditional role is for the teacher to stand in front of the class. In fact, unfortunately the pictures are not showing, so you can't see, but I have a lot of pictures. The arrangement in the classroom was changed. If you have an arrangement like this, if I keep talking for the next 15 minutes, one of you will start falling asleep. You will not be able to understand what I'm saying. So we must look at how do we center it around the child. A lot of my slides are actually in pictures, so I'm sorry, I'll just talk around it, but I wanted you to see the pictures, to see how classrooms are, and to see how students, I don't know what's wrong with the laptop. That is not showing. So it's individualized learning. Students have to be allowed to learn by themselves. They must be allowed. And one of the things that we need to do to work with government is to reduce the number of subjects that they're doing, and to reduce the number of subjects that teachers are having to teach. Because one of the things that teachers will tell us is that we have too many things to do. How do we concentrate and get this individualized learning? How do we get our students to understand what we're teaching? Because we have a lot of stuff to cover in the syllabus. And we must cover it because when the exams come, they will test them. So we have enough verbal or kinetic or whatever. I'm a visual learner. You need to show me pictures. That's why interactive board is important. You need to take me from Nigeria to Canada. You're talking about something in the US, you need to take me there in the interactive board. So I need to speak it. That's how I learn. Then you don't need to tell me, you just give me the resources. One of the things that I think we do in Global is that we make sure the students have the notes. When they come to the class, it's learning time. So what they do is that in most cases we try and get it, we're still working on it, but we try and get them to sit like in groups. And then we now put a project, which is what Michael will talk to you about. Put a project or put something in the middle of them and let them actually now answer the question or look at the topic that they're learning, like economics. Give them a lot of resources. You stand back and then because they have read the notes, they know about the topic. What you need to do now is to facilitate the learning. You do not continue to teach and teach. Because if you continue to teach, how do you know that they are learning? How do you assess that they are learning? It is when you know that the best way to learn, I tell you the best way to learn. Right? Apart from that. By teaching yourself. The teachers here, teachers who are here, when you are teaching, you are learning. So what do you think the students are doing when you're teaching them? They are not learning as much as you are learning. So the best way to learn is to teach. So if you put students in different rooms and you give them a project and they start working on it together, guess what? The students, when they get into a company, are they going to work on their own or are they going to work on a team? Are they going to work in a team? So we need to get them working as a team. Let me use my paper here. You have to be always ready for NEPA. There was a change. Jesus name, what happened? So I have put there that our classrooms are like this, but they need to look like this. Few students who are working together, not in a cluster, just listen to a teacher. They need to work together, and because you find some students are very brilliant. How do you know who is weak and who is not brilliant? Do you understand? In this particular picture, you can't see they are fast asleep. That's what happens. When you start teaching them, they are fast asleep. But to a school which is a place of creation of new knowledge. We have created an environment. The environment is so fascinating. We have given them all the resources they need. When they come to class, they are interested in coming to class. But if you stand in front of them, and because Mrs. Osuma is the owner of the school, and she said that you must teach this syllabus like this, and all you do is to teach it, and you are not interacting with the students, you are not facilitating the learning, you are having a whole load of bored students who do not understand, and a lot of them might not pass. And then they start becoming very mischievous, and they start misbehaving because they are bored. So that's why we have to change. Is it? Okay. What is it? In terms of learning achievement. Next, please. And this is the outcomes I've spoken about, and you can see that in the north is where we're having challenges. Next, please. Out of school children as well, we're having a challenge. When as children are not in school, how do they learn? So we have a big problem, and that is also focusing on the north. But more of the south, like it has the highest in school, it's 7.4, not bad. Nearly all in school, but in the north we have a problem. We cannot separate ourselves in the south and say, oh, we are doing well. Nigeria is the same, we are one. So we all need to, help our northern, and technology is a powerful thing. One of the things that we want to do in the south, we have a reform team, is to get very master teachers in the south to actually record their videos, record their teaching, and then we can take it to the north. And they can play it on video for them so that actually you can actually teach them from where you are. That is why distance learning is the way to go. We do not need to have so many universities anymore. We do not, because before you can set up a university, you need about 10 billion naira. So how many people are going to set up universities? At the moment now, we can only absorb 200,000 out of 1.4 million that's it for JAM every year. 200,000. We don't even have spaces in our universities. So that's why technology is critical. Please go on. I said, go on. The pictures, that age. Go on, please. We need to have this kind of teaching. You can see that the teacher is just standing, and the students are doing the work. They're doing the work. The only way you can get the brain to work is to get it to start thinking and to be curious about learning. If you turn out the information to somebody, and there's a capacity that the brain can take. We're talking about 14 subjects. I don't know how many subjects we're at now. How many? 17. 9. Well, 17, but I'm talking about now. So YF is now, thank God it's now, but it's still expensive. It's still expensive. So we are looking at children, just get to the part of the curriculum. Teach them, give them the facilities to go and you teach in class, not that you don't teach anymore. But you now go and get them to do a project on it. Next, please. Student-centered rather than teacher-centered. Same thing, these are the classrooms, manufacturing lines. We are trying to manufacture in the area, take your turn, go to your exam, go, like that. That's what happens in those days. Next is, they need to look like this in the 21st. So your classroom should look like this. The walls should be brilliant. They should be interesting for somebody to come in, or a student will be challenged to want to learn when they see their own work on the wall. This is a project I did. They can bring their parents and they're very proud of what they're doing. Next please. Not sleeping on you. I'm sure a lot of you have some of them that will just be sleeping after lunch. Fast asleep. To where they are engaged. Next please. To a student who is looking, a young boy looking very engaged, he wants to learn. He's looking like, oh wow, what teacher has just shown me. I'm going to go and find out more. I have my iPad. I'm going to go home. I'm curious. You must spark their curiosity. But don't go all the way and start pouring things. Let them go and think about what they're learning. Next. What is different for your students in today's world? Traditionally, they were receiving information, they were not participating because we were doing all the talking. They were expected to memorize a lot of information from text. I was a victim. We would turn the whole thing in, and they were required to regurgitate it. Now, they must be active participants in class. They must debate and discuss amongst themselves. They must present their ideas freely. I stand in front of, the reason why I'm talking is that I get a lot of your students coming to Global because I'm a sixth form. And I stand in front of the class and I ask questions and they don't answer. And I'm like, I said, okay, did you guys watch the news yesterday? What did they say about, a current event? And they don't know it. That is not learning. If the learning is taught to what they are teaching in the class, in the textbook, that is not learning. We have a big problem. So they must be able to criticize openly. Please, I know the culture in Nigeria says you cannot be rude to your elders. Criticizing and talking about a problem in the workplace is what must be encouraged in the classroom setting.